Welcome.
Welcome to the Everything Podcast. I am your host, Chuck Manity. And in today's episode, we are going to be covering Love, Death and Robots Season 1, Episode 18, called The Secret War. This episode aired on March 15th, 2019, and has a runtime of 16 minutes. This one got 8.1 out of 10 on IMDb with 19,000 reviews. And understandably so, this is a great way that they ended off the season of Love, Death and Robots, in my opinion. They went back to the really, really high quality 3D CGI, which is absolutely on point. It is so good, so good. So the synopsis on this one, elite units of the Red Army fight an unholy evil deep in the ancient forests of Siberia. So the directors for this one was Gabriella Piniccioli, Istvan Zhokoshki, and the writers were David W. Amendola, Philip Gillette, and Tim Miller. The voice actors on this was Stefan Kapicic, and he plays Lieutenant Nikolai Zakharov, Bruce Thomas, who plays Senior Sergeant Kravchenko, Jeff Berg plays Melenchenko, and Antonio Alvarez plays Junior Sergeant, that's Okchen, I think that's how you say it. So the trivia for this is the weapons shown are accurate for the Red Army at the time and include the PPSH-41 submachine guns, the DP-27 light machine guns, and the SVT-40 semi-automatic rifles, and lastly the M91/30 sniper variant Mosin Nagant rifles, beg your pardon. So yeah, this is definitely for me one of the better CGs in season 1, or if not the best one. So that for me is absolutely on point. It is really, really good. I enjoyed this episode a lot. It is super dark, but also has like a sort of friend and bond between friends and colleagues and comrades, or whatever you want to call them. But it is really good. So I just want to speak about Bruce Thomas quickly. He's really good as a voice actor. So he's well known in The Son of Batman, and he's done a whole bunch of video games like Final Fantasy. He was one of the voiceovers in that game. He was one of the voiceovers in Call of Duty. So he's done a couple of things like that, like Halo Infinite, Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War, Gear Tactics, and then Batman Hush, which is also a video game. So he's done a lot of voiceovers. So very, very talented guy to be able to do so many different types of voiceovers. But without any further ado, let's get straight into the review. So it opens up with the Netflix logo and the title sequence. So it opens up with the sound of crows, and you also see that there is a recon being done by this Red Army of a small town. They then make their way into the small town, obviously investigating what is going on in the small town. So they make their way into some of the huts, and there's an absolute bloodbath in there. There's a whole bunch of bodies all over the place, and not what caused it, thank goodness. At this point, nothing is in sight as to what caused all the mayhem. Then there's a whistle, and you hear someone calling out for Melenchenko, and you see him popping up from the top of the hill, and he looks like he is some form of sniper. The chaos in the city is absolutely terrible, so when they make their way into what is sort of they make their way into the town center, and there's bodies and blood all over the place. So they have a count. There's a 47 body count there and 0 survivors. They then obviously tactically they figure out that the monsters have made their way through the town and back into certain parts of the valley. So they then decide they will track the monsters to this valley, and they are wanting to destroy them. So one of the units of the Red Army has a chat with Lieutenant Nikolai, and he says that the units are potentially too far apart, so if they are attacked by the monsters, they won't be in close proximity to each other enough to support one another. And then Lieutenant Nikolai says that the reason for that is so they can cover more ground, so that they can find and destroy these monsters. You then get a shot within the deep forest. They notice that the tree has an ember-like quality, so when they cut away some of the bark of the tree, it has an ember-like quality in the rocks too. So I'm not sure if that is the monsters being around and they're leaving some sort of energy within the surroundings, but I think that might be what it is. Then you see it shoots over to a scene where you see a beret of similar to what the guys are wearing. So you see a skull with a beret, and it has the red star on it, which is the Red Army beret. So then there is a sniper who has one of these monsters in a clear line of fire. So after he takes the shot, then you see that the monsters are aware of the Red Army and then proceed to attack the Red Army. These monsters kind of remind me of, just a side note, these monsters kind of remind me of the monsters in Infinity War with the Avengers, where they attack Wakanda. They kind of look like that, except they have a different face and sort of like a wider face with more weird teeth. So these things are really, really creepy looking. They are super agile, so they can jump from tree to tree. They're really fast, so they are difficult to shoot and kill. So the setup in the beginning, when they were whistling to get Malenchenko, and it's not because he's a sniper, because that's kind of what it feels like they're setting him up to be, because he's at a vantage point. They were actually leaving him there because he's young, so they were trying to protect him. So that's the reason for that. And this becomes clear in this battle, because Lieutenant Nikolai actually saves Malenchenko's life, because one of these monsters almost got him, and he gets saved by Lieutenant Nikolai. And then with a few soldiers injured, it sort of pans out into the battlefield. There's no more monsters to speak of, but there are a few people from the Red Army that have been killed at this point. A lot of the soldiers are getting patched up on the battlefield at this point, and then one of the soldiers in the unit finds a body that has been buried, or half buried, under the ice. You can see it's been there for a long time. So they get his ID out, and they see that he was secret police. They make mention that this was bad luck for him, and then Lieutenant Nikolai says that, well, let's hope that it's not going to be for us, kind of thing. We need to, do what we need to do and get out of here. They then make camp in a airplane that has crashed somewhere on the mountain. It's very cold there, obviously. This is in Siberia, just as a reminder. So they are in the airplane with a little bit of fires and that kind of stuff. Lieutenant Nikolai hears some sounds. He makes his way out, and they are then they are sort of at the top of the hill or mountain, and as they're looking into the valley, a red flare is shot up. That means that someone is currently in battle with monsters. So these different platoons all over the place are fighting these monsters at different times and so on. So when a red flare is shot up, that means they're currently in battle, and then I think when they shoot a green flare up, that means that the battle is over and things are clear. So that's kind of the, I think the agreement between the platoons, that's what they do just to keep everyone informed about what's going on. So I would imagine if a red flare goes up and then you don't see a green one, you know that the guys have been wiped out. So one of the, so in the plane itself, so Lieutenant Nikolai is outside the plane at this point. So inside the plane at this point, there's the young lad with a guitar. I believe that is Malenchenko. And one of the soldiers in the unit asked him if he could play that guitar for everyone. Lieutenant Nikolai from outside the plane hears the music starting to play, and he abruptly makes his way back inside the plane. As he gets inside the plane, he grabs the guitar, doesn't say a word. The officer or the soldier who asks Malenchenko to play the guitar says, "Sorry sir, that was my fault." So they're obviously trying to keep quiet so that the monsters don't hear where they are and can pinpoint where they are and find them, and then they have to fight these things. So Lieutenant Nikolai is looking through a book that he's found, and one of the soldiers asks him what is in that book. He's talking about a thing called Operation Hades, and within that there was a guy that was part of the White Army. He was actually a major in the White Army, and then to fight the Red Army he was an occultist, so he tried to do dark magic to summon these creatures from below the ground, the same creatures that you see killing everybody. So he actually summoned these creatures to try fight the Red Army. That didn't go so well, so you actually get a scene of this where you see these monsters coming from the ground, and these monsters then turn on this White Army and completely kill everyone there. So it doesn't go well. That dark ritual does not go well at all. So the soldier then says to Lieutenant Nikolai that they perhaps need to take some of this information to the superiors. Nikolai says, "No, we have a mission, nothing more and nothing less." On their journey, and this is part and parcel from the first part where they were making their way and tracking these monsters, they eventually found the main cave hub for these monsters, and Lieutenant Nikolai says to everyone, "Comrades, it's time to earn your pay." A few of them make their way into the caves, and they then start planting some bombs within the caves, obviously to completely kill all of these monsters, because this is the main hub of where they all are. So they're at the main entrance of the cave, busy getting the bombs ready to get rid of these monsters, and there's a whole bunch of tunnels that he can see because he's got a light on his gun and he's busy shining, and there's a whole bunch of cave tunnels going in different directions, but then you can start hearing them coming, and he takes a flare and he throws it so he can see a little bit better, and these things start coming through in the droves from each of these tunnels. So in this tunnel piece it starts getting really tense because more and more of them start coming out, and the guy who's putting the bomb together is he's doing it as quickly as he can, obviously, but the soldier that's busy shooting at all of these things is saying that there's too many, and he's asking what's the holdup, so they're trying to get this bomb sorted before they leave. You get a shot of Lieutenant Nikolai looking through binoculars, looking at the entrance of this cave, and you see the two of these guys busy running out the cave. So the bomb's obviously been rigged, and they're busy running for their lives at this point. There's a joke made between the two guys, so they make their way to the horses. Obviously, when they're running out the cave, they had some horses there. They get on their horses, and the guy that was busy shooting to protect the guy making the bomb says, "You're getting older and slower," and then the guy laughs and says, "Haha, next time you do it." That's a nice banter between some old buddies. The bomb then goes off, which completely collapses the mountain, or the piece of the mountain that's the holes at, the entrance of the cave. And then the guys on horseback trying to make their way back to the Red Army team or the Red Army unit don't make it, because as the mountain collapses, they fall into that mountain piece, so they don't make it. Sergei then asks Lieutenant Nikolai if they should make a run for it. Lieutenant Nikolai says no, because he says if they run away, even with the horses, that the monsters will catch them even before they get into the forest properly and rip them apart. So they need to make their final stand there. Malenchenko then asks Lieutenant Nikolai if he can help in any way. Lieutenant Nikolai says no, says that you need to get onto your horse and you need to get out of here as fast as possible, don't look back, and you need to give the coordinates of this place and let them blow it into rubble. So then you actually get a big reveal where Malenchenko then says, "Father, please, I'd rather die with you," kind of thing. And it's like this really nice moment. So you actually, now the bomb is dropped where you know that this is a father and son. So it's really quite sad at this point, where he's telling his son to go and he's going to be staying behind. Lieutenant Nikolai then screams out to his troops that we stand here, we die here, and it has been an honor, and all the guys cheer. So they're making their final stand. At this point it goes black, and then it opens up immediately with gunfire and absolute mayhem, with the monsters running in. And of course, because this is the hub, there is a stupid amount of them busy running at Lieutenant Nikolai and his team. At this point you don't hear anything, the guns start disappearing and you do hear occasional scream, but the sound starts going into a dramatic score and you just get the visuals of what's happening, and they're getting picked off one by one. Parts of the team want to get to the detonator, so they've got obviously a little trick up their sleeve. So part of this plan was they knew that they were going to get overwhelmed, so they obviously had set up a bomb on the top of the hill where they were. As they were getting picked off one by one, one or two tried to make it to the detonator. They didn't make it, and the only person left on the top of this hill at this point is Lieutenant Nikolai. He's got a flare trying to keep the monsters at bay, and he does eventually make his way through to the detonator and then sets it off and kills a whole bunch of monsters at the top of the hill where he is, including himself. Yeah, what's crazy is you actually see he's got a bit of a smile on his face, because he knows he's going to be taking out a lot of these things, and they've been causing obviously a lot of problems, killing a lot of human beings and so on. So that smile on his face is just a sort of like, you know, these monsters can fly a kite, and you know, he's basically smiling because he's managed to take out a lot of them. After you see the bomb go off, it goes dark, and then you get swapped over to another scene where it's now daytime, because the fight happened at night, and you see a whole bunch of the monsters busy roaming around in this valley. So with the shot, it's actually, like I said, it's on the valley floor, and then you hear this sort of Serbian Russian style guitar playing, and it then pans up into the sky, and you see a whole bunch of fighter pilots or a whole bunch of fighter planes and bombing planes and all that just light that place up, and the monsters, as they are trying to run away and all that, so because it starts on the far side and it sort of just mops them up piece for piece, and as the bombs are coming through and the monsters are running towards the screen, you know all of them are toast. So just as they blow up, whoop, it goes to black, and that is the end of the episode. So Malenchenko, as you know, because of the bomber planes and the fighter planes coming to mop up the rest of the monsters, you know that he made it, and it is somewhat of a happy ending. So the monsters are gone, obviously now father and son situation, you know, a son losing his father, the team sort of sacrificing themselves. So there's a lot to unpack with an episode like this, as far as the emotional side of it and all of that. You know, the self-sacrifice, the camaraderie, all of that. So it is set up so well, and I mean, look, they have, like I've said since the beginning of me doing the series, they have to do a story, an arc and everything within, you know, 10-15 minutes. So yeah, it's a lot to ask, but they've done it really, really well. This is a fantastic ending to season 1 of Love, Death and Robots. So if you enjoyed this episode, which I'm sure majority of you will say yes, then please let me know in the comments below. If you like the review, please do comment that in the comments below, and also show us some love by liking, sharing, and subscribing. But that is it for today's episode of the Everything Podcast, and we'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.